The 49ers, on the other hand, have not been living their best life. I'm not sure how aware you are, but they did make a move, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this Trent Williams thing is starting to linger a little bit. And I know that Trent Williams was hurt before you left out of town, so you're definitely aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the expectation was he'd be back as soon as the bye week was over. Now, he may be back tomorrow for practice. We don't know for sure, but Kyle Shanahan did admit that this ankle injury has lingered longer than he expected. Are you concerned about Trent Williams maybe heading into the rest of the season? And do you think this team can win this week in particular without Trent Williams?
So I think it's safe to say that you could pencil in Trent Williams to miss 1 or 2 games throughout the season. That's kind of been his history since he's been here. So if it was just Trent Williams on his own, do I think that we can cover that? I would say yes. The problem is it's the whole left side, right? Because Aaron Banks is also nicked up. So you want to have one or the other at least there, because those are our 2 best offensive linemen by far, right? Obviously, Trent Williams is one by far, but Aaron Banks has been a very solidified, offensive lineman for us since last year, where he just stepped in and kind of that left side has always been the strongest for us. So him being nicked up as well is where the issue is. Now, do we know, is Aaron Banks playing? Is he back?
Aaron Banks is for sure not playing. He hasn't missed any games, but he's got turf toe, so they expect him to be out a few weeks, it sounds like.
So I didn't know if I knew they said that, but I didn't know if the bye week was part of those weeks. So it looks like maybe the whole left side is going to be replacements, right? I think they're going to put Feliciano and probably Moore, right?
And that's assuming Trent misses. It's not a guarantee. He may practice tomorrow, but he's not going to be 100%, it sounds like, if he does play either.
And if he wasn't 100%, I would much rather him rest. Because ultimately, to answer your question, do I think that the 49ers could win without the left side, with the left side being all backups? I think yes, in this situation, right? I'm not saying that Jaguars defense is terrible or that defensive line is terrible, because it's not true. They have guys that could rush the passer, but I do think that with Debo coming back, with CMC there coming off of a bye, you can get a little bit more creative in your offense to overcome maybe some of those deficiencies. So I would rather Trent Williams get all the way healthy versus having a lingering injury, because I don't think we win a Super Bowl without him. I don't think we go deep into the playoffs without him. So ultimately, that to me is the main goal. So get him as healthy as possible. If he has to sit out, because I do think that they can beat the Jags with a little less than offensive line.
Yeah, I want to point this out, though. 49ers Throwback says we can't run the ball without him. That has been a little bit of a trend. And that is worrisome, because the Jacksonville Jaguars, their front four doesn't get after the quarterback a ton, but they are very good in the run game. Jaguars defense as a whole is very good in the run game. So you take away Trent, I mean, you pretty much can guarantee you're probably not going to run the ball effectively. So now you're in a situation where you're going to have to win through the air. Can that be done? Is that ideal? I don't necessarily know about that. So that it gets dicey without Trent. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I would much rather him be healthy. I just don't know. It sounds like it's potentially the same ankle that he had surgery on, the one that gave him troubles down the stretch of 2021 that he injured in the Green Bay game and then tried to play into the NFC Championship with. If that's the case, this thing may not ever be 100%, at least not the rest of the season. So it becomes a pain management thing. I don't know. Less than ideal, I will say.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple of players on the offensive side that if they got injured would significantly impact the offense. And Trent Williams was at the top of that list, right? So unfortunately, he's the one that is there. But ultimately, look, it's not going to be an excuse at the end of the season, Jesse. You know, this team has enough talent to where the loss of even as great as Trent Williams is, they should still be able to win games. The offense should still be looking much better than that. And it's unfortunate that, you know, I saw Fernando. Fernando was the one who put the comment there, but why can't we run just because Trent's not there, right? There's still 4 other offensive linemen, no, 5 with the backup. This is still a run first team. So every single offensive lineman that was brought into this team was meant more for their ability to run block than it was to pass block. So the fact that we can't run the ball, I think it's a deeper issue than Trent Williams being there or not being there.
Yeah, most certainly. It seemed Kyle Shanahan said after the Cleveland game that essentially he wasn't prepared to miss the players that they were missing. It's an odd thing to say as a head coach. Right. So have you not been prepared the last couple of weeks without those players? Does it come down to this team has to be fully healthy to win? And if not, you're not going to win. Where do we draw the line? Because no team is ever fully healthy. Injuries are going to happen. Shoot, I remember the Aaron Rodgers Green Bay team that won the Super Bowl. They had like 11 players, starters on IR going into the Super Bowl, and then lost Woodson in the Super Bowl and still won. Sometimes you just got to be able to make it through. And right now, this team, when they lose a player or two, they just don't look the same, and that's unfortunate.
I agree. It's indefensible for a coach, and even though it's my coach, to say, hey, we didn't have contingency plans for these players to go down, because you should have contingency plans for especially a coach that says, I don't know if we're going to be alive on Sunday, to not have a contingency plan for players not being there. This is your line, Kyle Shanahan. We don't know what's going to happen on Sunday, so you should have a contingency plan for everybody being out.
I would think so. It sounds like he's ready for the zombie apocalypse. Maybe he should be ready for this. Brother Bob also, see, Brother Bob, he acts sometimes like he doesn't like you, Sunil, but I do find it a little interesting that he chose to go on vacation at the same time you went on vacation. He decided to miss shows the same time you were going to miss shows. Maybe Brother Bob actually likes you more than I do, apparently, because I keep moving you around from day to day. So maybe that's where it's at. But he does want to know, are you still a Shanna stan?
First of all, Brother Bob, you wouldn't respect me if I wasn't still a Shanna stan, man. There's no way that you would be donating your $1.99 to Jesse week after week unless you can make some kind of Shanna stan comment to me. So absolutely, not just because I am Brother Bob, but I will never say anything different so that you can still come at me, pause, about Kyle Shanahan, my friend.
Yeah, there you go. Sunil's stubborn. He comes back and says, if Purdy throws more interceptions, do we panic even more? I don't know. I think it really what it comes down to with Purdy for me is what is your expectation of him? If you thought he was a top 5 quarterback and was going to be perfect his whole career, then yeah, I'm sure you would panic more. I look at it and say this team wasn't designed to win on his right arm. Not now anyways, not this early into his career. They thought that he would be slightly better than Jimmy at this stage in his career and then, eventually grow into that full-time franchise quarterback, but there's no way that they expected him to carry this roster, this cast of characters, players like Debo and CMC and Kittle and Ayuk and a great defense. There's no way they expected that. If they did, then they had the wrong expectations. So the 49ers around him need to step up. That's what needs to happen. Raymond Clark says, no one is ever prepared for injury. Overcoming the inevitable is what championship teams do. This team needs to get their groove back ASAP.